Hello, welcome to Garden Chronicles. My name is James David, and this is a continuation of my earlier video where I'm actually doing window shopping concerning Anthurium plants. So here I want to showcase to you this particular Anthurium, commonly known as Anthurium Regale. Here in this video, I want to show to you how these Anthuriums can grow to their optimum sizes and their characteristics of how well they grow in this condition, especially when it comes to rare plants such as these are actually sold in a very small plants, most probably seedlings, and you really would not know exactly how they grow, especially when they grow huge. And this is what you're actually able to see here. You can actually notice here in this particular plant display, I've noticed that this Anthurium is actually grown in one singular pot with a huge plant growing on it. So in a way, I noticed that this is more on the aesthetic singular plant, in a way to say that they do not really grow a lot or do well in a clump position. And you also have to consider the fact that when it grows Anthurium Regale, you really have to have space for it to actually grow huge. I think this particular one is far more greater and bigger compared to Anthurium magnificum. On a side note, I have also noticed that this is considered a little bit more rare and more expensive compared to other Anthurium plants, which I can say that due to the fact that they can be very expensive and not easily available in the common market. Also, another factor that I suspect very much that this is actually imported from the native environment, perhaps from Ecuador or on the South American side. Hence, these are not brought in from Indonesia region where they would have been cultivated or have been hybridized. So in a way, because of this context, these are now still in their premium prices. Just to talk a little bit of their characteristics, their leaves are actually very hard in their texture, and you can also see that they are famously known for their hard shaped leaf, and these Anthuriums can grow very large and considered highly sought after. Another characteristics you have to take note of is that this particular plant do not put out a lot of leaves. So you can actually see that in a random point of view, a plant may have easily about 3 to 4 leaves, or even if 2 leaves in its life. So as it grows huge, it actually can put out a lot of its foliage. Also do note that it has to be in a huge size for it to come to that kind of condition, and it may take many years for it to set in that kind of condition. I must say, due to this condition, perhaps they do require a lot of humidity. Perhaps also it could have come from a highland kind of environment. Hence you can see the leaves are not so beautiful and easily damaged due to this condition. Personally, in my experience and my opinion, I find that when it comes to acclimatization, it may take some generations to take over slowly by slowly for them to come to a state where they are actually able to handle the lowland hot and humid climate. In that case, you can actually say that when imported plants such as this that are actually brought in from high humidity kind of condition, the temperate region, they may not do so well and may suffer a lot of burns around the leaf edges. So they believe in this context, I can say that because these are just brought in recently as a first generation plant and may not have went through a series of new generation. And I mentioned about new generation in the sense that if they were actually cultivated in a long term, at least about 5 years time, where they would have sort of like drop off its leaves, and then eventually they survive and acclimatize itself to lowland climate, you may also notice that their growing condition may change a little bit different, especially the leaves may be a little bit smaller and the appearance can be a little bit more hardy, and it will actually set itself into a kind of a situation where it can actually grow well, but it will not be as beautiful as the first generation where they are actually brought in from the temperate regions. I'm not sure whether it actually makes sense or what I'm actually saying. It's just based on my experience. I've noticed that in earlier initial stages, when the Begonia maculata viridii was actually brought in, a lot did not make it. I can say at least 70% of them actually has withered and burnt, and a lot of leaves have fallen apart, and a lot of those plants did not make it from the plant market, especially from the nursery to from the nurseries, from the vendors. A lot of it actually died. A lot of losses has been made, but the ones that actually have survived have already had this hardy genes, where it actually sort of like weathered its storm and able to handle the lowland climate. And actually have some of the maculata viridii species in my hands, and they are doing fairly well. I wouldn't say they are thriving, but they are surviving in my garden condition. So in that kind of context, I believe plants can be hardy, and such as these types, when the first generation has been brought in from their native countries here, and the process of acclimatization may take years, and in that kind of context, not all of the plants may survive. Let's say in a batch of 100, maybe from that 20 may survive, and those 20 may have these hardy genes to be able to survive and thrive for the next generation, or per se that they may able to handle the acclimatization very well. Now you do understand that these plants are brought in a context to make money, so you must understand that in most cases the plant prices would have been crazily hiked up in the way, so that in case there were losses, they can actually cover the losses. So that's what are these premium prices are there, to cover the losses and their costs. Now, this is another observation that I just want to mention here, is that I noticed that they are not actually using any of the soil medium here. Rather, a lot of it actually grown on a perlite and fast draining medium. I believe a lot of it, I think can say about 50% of the potting medium is actually on perlite, and there are some instances of lacquer balls, and also the osmocore that is being placed here as fertilizer. So these are the things that I actually take note of and observe to see that how are these plants are cultivated, just to make sure that they're actually doing so well. And also a lot of the leaves are actually being hoisted and supported by wooden sticks, and just to keep them upright, so they would not fall into and break down based on their own weight of the leaves. So these are the things that I observe and take note of to see the condition of this growing of the plants, in a way to say that though these are actually tropical plants, they still are sensitive. One of the things that I often notice is that however rare the plants are, no matter how expensive it is, eventually over the years or in some time, it's just a matter of time that these will be actually cultivated using tissue culture, and it will just flood the market, and the price will just crash down crazily. And in cases such as this, a lot of the vendors are actually bought these plants on a high premium prices, only to find huge losses due to they not able to collect back their investments. So in a way, in this context, I'm just not discouraging you not to buy plants, but just keep an eye and context on this matter, that if you are planning to buy plants, do buy them because you enjoy them and you love them, not so much on the factor of you thinking of it to make money out of it, and only find a lot of huge disappointment that arises such as this, especially when the plant market is so fluid and volatile. And such as these plants, when I can actually say plants are such that are here today and gone tomorrow, they are so fragile, and especially rare plants such as this, they just are sensitive plants and not easy to predict on their growing conditions, and also how it actually fare in a long-term conditions. Now I would like to show to you another particular Anthurium known as this one, Anthurium vichii. Is also known as king Anthurium. Personally, this is the first time actually seeing them in real life, and I'm actually in awe to notice that they are appearing to be very beautiful. However, I can also find that it is a little bit disappointing because it appears to be a lot of damage and looks not so exclusively grand looking. Hence, I can say it could be hybridized, or this is the best it actually gets. So what I want to mention is that you may really never know what exactly how it actually looks like until you actually inspect and see them, because with all the hype and glory, at the end of the day it's just plants. So I've come to the end of my video, and I've actually placed a lot of detailed information on how our plant care concerning Anthurium plants and all their cultivation needs and detailed information on all of them, which I've actually come across here in this hot and humid climate around my region here in Malaysia. So what I would like to encourage you is that go through all of them in my playlist, which I place in my description box below. And if you can, I would really appreciate if you can click like and subscribe and support my channel, and hope to hear from you soon. I hope you enjoyed this particular video, and I catch you again in my next one. Take care and have a nice day. Bye.